you heard it. It's time to talk Jets football. We do it every week with this guy. He's one of our favorites, talking all things Jets. Let's welcome in the one, the only, Jake Asman. Today's broadcast, by the way, brought to you by our friends at Play It Again Sports. Welcome to at MC Show Digital once again, Mr. Asman. How are you?
Appreciate you guys having me back on. I'm fantastic. Season almost here, not quite, but we got one preseason game to go, and then the real thing 2 weeks after that. So I'm ready, man. I can't wait.
All right, I'm ready to flex. I'm ready to flex as the only Giant fan in the room. We won the Snoopy Bowl. Let's talk about it. I mean, again, it's preseason action, so let's keep it in perspective. But it was a very good performance by the Giants. Was it a poor performance by the Jets? That'll be my first question.
I would say so. I mean, it'd be tough to argue otherwise. When you just look at the score, you look at how the Jets backups played. You know, the starting offense for the Jets, they only had 2 drives. They scored a field goal on the second one, but the quarterback, Justin Fields, was inaccurate when he was out there. The one positive for the starting offense, they ran the ball pretty well. But other than that, there was a coverage breakdown on defense. So the starting defense was certainly not blameless. But overall, it's such a short sample size. But when it came down to the backups for the Giants outplayed the Jets backups without question.
So, Jake, you know, the conversation is always about this guy, Justin Fields, JF7. So I turn it to you and say this. What do you make of all the hoopla, right? Week 1 Packers were like, sweet, Justin Fields is taking us to the Super Bowl. Touchdown, great. And then this week we're like, oh, 5 yards, 4 yards passing, whatever he had. Then all of a sudden it goes the other way. So what's the proper temperature here for us to have on the Justin Fields roller coaster?
I think your opinion on what you think Fields is or what he will be should not change based on 2 drives in a preseason game. Just like last week, we talked about how we all got to maybe take a chill pill and not go crazy because the starting offense looked good in 1 drive against the Packers, right? Like preseason, take everything with a grain of salt. I think if you believe Fields could still break out this year, you could still feel that way. And if you're concerned like I was going into the year about his inability to be a consistent passer, I don't think anything we've seen this summer or in the preseason is going to alleviate those fears. I think so much of what he does well cannot necessarily be replicated on the practice field or won't showcase itself in preseason games. He's going to run and run a lot. And the Jets have been able to run the ball really well with their running backs. And even Fields at times in limited sample size has moved well with his legs. That's their offense. Like asking Justin Fields to be a pocket quarterback, I don't think he's ever going to be that guy, but can they scheme an offense that plays to his strengths and the Jets have a good O-line and a good running game, be in a lot of games that way? I think that's their path, but I never believed in like Justin Fields turning himself into like this great drop back quarterback. I think he is what he is. I think the Jets are trying to win and play to what he does well and build an offense around that.
So perhaps this Jet offense is just hiding in the grass right now, Jake, and they're going to come out when it really matters in the regular season. I know my partner certainly hopes that that's the case. You mentioned the running game, so let's talk about it a little bit. And Paul and I were talking about this the other day on our live show. I'm becoming a little concerned about Breece Hall, and I know the sample size is very small here in the preseason, but that burst that he had in that first year when he was a Jet, and I was like, boy, they got their running back of the future. This guy's going to be their guy for the next 5 to 7 years. It seems to have disappeared. So let's talk about that. Do you see the same thing that I see? And what is your level of concern about Breece Hall as a running back right now?
Yeah, look, I think Breece is a guy that at his best, he's one of the more talented players in the league. We've seen that. Like he's had a year where he's gone out there and has been second at his position in the league in yards from scrimmage. I think with him, he's got to stay healthy. I think if Breece Hall is healthy, he can go out there and be really effective because he gives you a lot in the passing game. And you can make a case a lot of weeks. Breece might be the second most targeted Jet weapon. So they don't have a true number 2 receiver on this team. I think Breece is going to fill that void a lot of weeks. I think we'll see him involved a lot in the passing attack, but you can't deny how good Braylon Allen's played so far, his talent, kind of how he fits the scheme and what type of team they want to be. So I think we will see both backs be used a lot, but I think Breece overall will still get more touches per game because of how dynamic I think, if healthy, he will be as a weapon, being used as a pass catcher in this offense.
Well, Jake, you said the number 2 guy could be Breece Hall in certain weeks. I think the number 1 guy is supposed to be that Garrett Wilson fella, and he's been targeted 4 times during the preseason, yet these 2 have not been able to match on your favorite dating app. So what is the concern level here on Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson? Because, Jake, if the Jets are going to do anything this year, they need this connection to be as red hot and fiery as it was back at Ohio State.
I don't think there's a big concern. That said, it would have been nice if they had that connection on the third down that killed the second drive by the Jet offense that ended in a field goal attempt. I mean, Fields just has to put that ball on Garrett Wilson. It was late. It was behind him. It's a timing route. So those two clearly have to get on the same page. That said, it's tough to go crazy when we're talking about such a small sample size in these games, right? So I'm not concerned. Garrett has played with far worse quarterbacks and has been able to produce. So I think the staff is going to do a much better job lining him up, giving him opportunities to get the ball in different situations, a lot more motion, free releases at the line of scrimmage. I think they have a good plan for Garrett. I have questions about everyone else besides him in that room. But as far as Garrett Wilson, I mean, he's pretty far down on my list of concerns. I think him and Fields will be fine.
All right, we're talking with Jake Asman again. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Play It Again Sports. Let's just take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more about our friends from Play It Again.
Warm weather sports season is here, and if you want to gear up and save money on some of the top brands of golf, soccer, and baseball equipment, and much more, Play It Again Sports can be your solution. With both new and gently used gear, Play It Again has prices way less than regular retail stores. And for all you golfers out there, get some quick money for those clubs you've got stashed away and are collecting dust. Play It Again is always looking for quality gear. No appointment necessary. Just bring it into the store. Play It Again Sports in the DeWitt Town Center on Erie Boulevard. Don't spend more. Play it again. PlayItAgainSportsSyracuse.com.
All right, talking again with Jake Asman, our Jets insider. We do a weekly with him right here at MC Show Digital. Don't forget to like and follow us and subscribe, of course, to our YouTube channel at MC Show Digital. All right, Jake, one of the reasons we do play preseason games is to make decisions about roster. So let me ask you, through two games here, and especially looking back at this Snoopy Bowl game for the Jets, did any players maybe lose their place on the 53-man by their play so far through the first two games?
You know, I think it's going to be tough for a guy like Donovan Edwards, who looked really good in that first week against Green Bay, to make this team because Kene Nwangwu, or however you pronounce his name, he's such an excellent kickoff returner. And I think he's good enough as like a backup running back that I think he's going to earn a spot on this team. And Edwards is probably more likely to be a practice squad guy. It feels like a lost cause. You've been talking about former third-round pick Malachi Corley at this point. I didn't think he was going to make the team in, June, in May, in April, and here we are now in August, and it feels like his spot might be cooked. I think that last receiver spot for the Jets, so they take Jamal Pritchard because of his ability to be a punt returner. Does that steal a spot from Xavier Gibson? That's what I'm looking at. Can Brandon Smith, who's another big-bodied wide receiver, could he make this team? He's made plays. Quentin Skinner had the only touchdown for the Jets in the game Saturday. He's been impressive. So I think the battle for, that fifth, maybe sixth, I don't think they'll keep seven, but that wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6, and just how they view the special teams ramifications of those spots, I think that probably determines some of those last cut down spots on the roster.
Jake, let's go to the other side. Who is someone that is probably safe on the roster but shouldn't be in terms of making it on the 53?
Jeremy Ruckert. And look, I'm a Long Island guy, so it hurts me to say this, but if Jeremy Ruckert wasn't born in Lindenhurst, Long Island, would we be talking about him the way we do as Jet fans, being like, is he going to break out? Oh, Ruckert's going to play a role. He's done nothing going into his fourth year. Andrew Beck, to me, has outplayed him this summer as a fullback tight end hybrid. Stone Smart, forget the hit on Abdul Carter. That was awesome. How about the first game against Green Bay? He scored a touchdown. I was at the green and white scrimmage, and he had a couple touchdowns that day when I was at a camp. He's made more plays this summer, yet he's behind Ruckert on the depth chart. So that's curious to me. We know Taylor's going to start at tight end. But, look, I love the story for Jeremy Ruckert, and we're all rooting for, a fellow Long Islander, a Jet fan growing up. Everyone saw the video of his dad at the draft party, but it just hasn't worked. He's in his fourth year. He's yet to score a touchdown in the league, and he really hasn't shown me much this summer. So I think he'll be on the team, but I don't know if you could feel great about any of the tight ends outside of Mason Taylor to this point going into the year.
Now, one of the things that's being talked about in the preseason here for the Jets is, of course, they have a new coach in Aaron Glenn, but the synergy, dare I say, between GM and coach, Darren Moogie and Aaron Glenn. And it seems like a lot of reports out there that they're on the same page, that these guys seem to have the same plan in action. So do you buy that, or is that just, Jets front office talk? Give me your thoughts about how this thing is coming together here in the very early stages.
They're still in the honeymoon phase, right, Jim? I mean, they're definitely still on the same page. Moogie doesn't have a job if not for Aaron Glenn, right? And for the first time probably since Bill Parcells, the Jets are an organization that is head coach kind of controlling the GM. In the past, it's been either both report to the owner or the GM. Like in the previous regime, it was Douglas who oversaw Robert Saleh. That was the power structure. Glenn's got all the power, but clearly him and Muji see eye to eye on a lot of things, but Glenn's got the final decision, but they're still in that honeymoon phase. I would expect them, to be on the same page. Nothing really bad has happened yet, right? I mean, they went through the draft together. They're going through training camp together. They haven't had any losses together yet that count. So I think they are aligned, but the real test will be when the games start and what happens if this team is not playing well down the line. What happens then?
Again, we're speaking with our guy, Jake Asman, baby, the host of the Jake Asman Show, ESPN Radio, Sirius XM. I mean, really, it'd be easier to list the things that this guy does not do, quite frankly, for God's sakes, here on the show. But let me ask you this. Speaking of Darren Mucci, I have to ask you this, Jake, a two-parter here. Who will be the toughest cut for Darren Mucci to make? And also, who do you think that could get cut from the Jets roster? And we talked about this a couple years ago when the Jets made a bunch of cuts and they got claimed all over the place. Like, does that speak to the depth of the Jets roster, or did Joe Douglas make the wrong decisions? So how many players do you anticipate getting picked up once they're cut by the Jets?
Harrison Mevis could get picked up because he's hit all his kicks. He's just not going to beat out Nick Folk. So if you want a kicker transaction, you could maybe look there. It'd be curious to see if they cut, let's say, Xavier Gibson, because he does have experience, right? He does have that moment that everyone watched week 1 a few years ago against the Bills. Is he someone that can maybe get claimed? It wouldn't shock me. Could one of the running backs we discussed, whether it's Kene if he doesn't make the team, or Donovan Edwards, who I don't think will, could someone claim him? It's possible. I don't think they have a ton of guys that teams are going to be clamoring for, because I don't think the roster is as deep as it was a few years ago, but those would be probably some of the names in my head that stand out.
Jake, I always love to talk about the big guys, so I'm back in the trenches. They're always my favorite guys to interview when I go to practices, when I go to games. I love the insight that I get from the trenches. Let me talk about the trenches and the Jets here for a minute. The transformation, I think, now coming, it seems, in year 2 for the Jets left tackle Oluf Fashanu, and the fact that they went back into the draft again and plucked another first rounder to put on the other side of this offensive line. Did the Jets have something here, do you think, or is something brewing here with the front of this offense, to me, which I think is just so important? I just live and breathe by good offensive lines equals good offense.
I think they do. And look, they better, because ultimately they've invested so much premium assets into this unit the last couple of years. If this O-line is not one of the 10 best in the league, objectively speaking, they failed. You have a first-round pick at left tackle. You have a first-round pick, a top 7 pick at right tackle. You have a guy going into his 5th year who's played like an all-pro at times at right guard. Your center's in his 3rd year. He's a rising player who many like around the league. Your left guard was probably maybe your best O-lineman a year ago, and John Simpson, who's a guy a lot of Jet fans would love to see the team get ahead of with an extension and keep here for the long haul. That's 5 guys right there that are either first-round picks or high second-round picks or a priority free agent signing. They better be good. And if they're not, Justin Fields is not going to be able to sit back there and carve guys up. He's not going to be able to have rooms to run or lanes to run. And Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, they're not going to be able to get going. So they're built to be able to run the ball, and they're built to have a really strong O-line that gives them a chance to do that. So the talent's there. It's probably the most talented O-line they've had since Rex Ryan was the coach with those teams with Mark Sanchez. Now they got to actually live up to that hype and stay healthy and perform.
All right, Jake, last one for me here. Let's bring this guy back up. Justin Fields on the screen. If Jake Asman could give advice to Justin Fields heading into the 2025 season, what would it be?
Welcome to hell, Justin. Quarterback hell.
Yes.
I mean, that's just how it goes, right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers found out what it's like to be the Jet quarterback. It took 4 plays for his year to end. I mean, it's just, I'm rooting for Justin Fields, but there's real questions with him. I do think that he's in a spot where he does have the O-line, as we just talked about. He does have Garrett Wilson. He has a running game. Like, there's things to like. There's just a lot of uncertainty. Hopefully he stays healthy, because this is a guy that's dealt with some injuries in his career. And, just be ready for the slings and arrows that are coming your way. Like, even if it's going well, you have that first bad game, it's going to be start Tyrod, and, people will lose their minds. That's what's crazy about this Jet fan base. But I really have been impressed with his press conferences, his mentality, his temperament. I think he's matured a lot, and he's even talked about that. So certainly as a Jet fan, I'm rooting for him. But it's not easy being the Jet quarterback. Ask any of the, previous Jet quarterbacks in the last, 50-something years what it's like in this town. It ain't easy.
Well, Jake, the one thing I like about Justin Fields is his age. At least they're not dealing with somebody, who, could pull his hammy on any play. Not that he couldn't. I mean, he's a runner, but I just, there's a youthful exuberance to Justin Fields, and I do like that. And maybe that ultimately adds some energy to this Jets offense.
100%. Look, if he works out long term, you got a franchise quarterback. None of the other options for the Jets, once they determined we're moving on from Aaron Rodgers, could you really sell yourself on beyond just 1 year of a bridge quarterback like Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Kirk Cousins, Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, go down the line. If I say to a Jet fan, hey, what's the percentage any of those guys are here beyond just a year? You're going to say it's probably like 1%, 0% in all likelihood. With Fields, it's not 50. It's probably not even, 30. But if it's 20, 15, like that was a worthy, a worthy investment for the Jets once they decided we're moving on from Rodgers, because at least you have that hope that he can have that year that Sam just did, or Baker down in Tampa, or Geno turning out to be a viable starter. That's what you're hoping for if you're a Jet fan.
Well, Jake, thanks as always for joining us, baby. And man, what a party you guys hosted. T-Squared Social for the Jets-Giants game, which would have been a better result. But it sounds like you're going to be doing that throughout the season and also being here throughout the season. So we appreciate it. So, Jake, great party, man.
Boy Green, next time, hopefully you can make it. We'd love to have you at one of the watch parties. And Jim, I know you're a Giants guy, but we'll set up a TV for the Giant game for you as well. We'd love to have you there as well.
I'm actually going down. He's got a trip going with his Jets channel, and I'm going to go down and watch the Jets beat up on the Cowboys. So I'm looking forward to that with a bunch of nutty Jet fans. I actually will wear green attire that day. I promise, Jake.
There you go.
Nice. If in nothing else, in your honor, okay? I don't know about this guy, but in your honor, I certainly would. Jake, always great talking to you, my friend. We'll talk to you again next week.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.